page 35 and 36, right? You have some of this. 37 is reviewing again your alpha, and then the next page it reviews your beta. So alpha 1, I told you the main thing is your blood vessels, yeah. It says smooth muscles of all arteries, arterioles, veins, and venules. That's your blood vessels. Okay. And then when it says when alpha receptors, you talk about, you can see it's in bold letters and capital letters, it's vasoconstriction. Remember A, B, C, D. A's constriction, B's dilation. I forget who gave me that. I think it was a student last year. Well, that's a good way. You want to do A, B, C, D. So if you want to learn more about it further, you can see that it constricts those blood vessels, making the blood pressure go up, and the heart contracts. Alpha 2, you had a lot of questions about it. It says just blocks and inhibits. It means it decreases your norepinephrine, which is the neurotransmitter, you know, of the adrenergic receptors, right? That's what it is, norepinephrine.
Do that decreases that?
Mm-hmm. And this is all in your pharmacology book. They have pages for you in your reading material, correct? As they did last year. Beta 1, when you think of beta 1, they just have one here for you, the heart. Okay. Beta 2 says bronchial passageway. You're thinking of the lungs. You're thinking of dilation, bronchodilation. Right. Then it says on the bottom, smooth muscles in stomach and intestines, and add uterus, which is also smooth muscles. As far as meds go, okay, it's not an exam. Beta 2 also, they don't have it written here, but it does. They do have that at the liver. So remember adrenergic is what system? Sympathetic, yeah. Sympathetic. I say mimetic, which is true. Sympathetic, so it's fight or flight. So remember I told you the liver, what happens with fight or flight, it signals the liver to do the process called glycogenesis, so it brings your blood sugar up. Because when you're running, you need more energy. So you're thinking of all, you want to run, so that's why it says skeletal muscles. So when you look at this, you're thinking of everything that you need when you're running or fighting. Unfortunately, in our day and age, it's stress, right?
So you said the liver is stimulated.
Glycogenesis, which brings your blood sugar up.
Right.
Yeah. Because you may see that with meds or other readings. But as you read here, you should know this already, right? When you think of one, just the heart, because you know the heart rate's going to be going up, right? When you're running or stressful. You're stressed. 2, you want your bronchioles dilated to breathe better. You want your muscles moving. You want the sugar in your blood. And then it just repeats itself. When beta 1 receptors are stimulated, it says heart rate increases. Okay? Which increases, I already told you about the conduction, and of course that would lead to increased cardiac output, and it says it right here. And beta 2, you think of bronchodilation of the bronchioles. And of course, when you're running and fighting, you don't need your GI system or your bladder or anything. But your uterus is relaxed. It doesn't have it written, every uterus is relaxed. Don't need that when you're fighting or running either. Okay, then I gave you a handout of this. Does that look familiar? And it just reviews, so you can mark it however you want to. But if you look on top, it's sympathetic. Remember, that's what receptor? Fight or flight, but what's the receptor called? Adrenergic. And I always put fight or flight to remind me. So again, you can see everything that can happen to fight or flight. Bronchioles are dilated, increased heart rate, constricting your blood vessels, which brings your blood sugar up. And then, of course, your GI and bladder and everything else is relaxed because you don't need it for fighting or flighting. Then you have this parasympathetic response, which is what receptor called? Cholinergic. Thank you. It's cholinergic. So I would write that above there to remind me. And of course, that's rest and digest. And it's the opposite. Bronchioles are constricted, heart rate down, blood vessels are dilated. And that's when you do need your GI system at rest, your peristalsis and your bladder constricting to urinate. Okay. I gave you this handout actually for the little picture there as a reminder. Okay. And it's showing adrenergic on the left. And see the NE? NE you think would stand for what? What's the neurotransmitter? Norepinephrine. There you go. If you're better with pictures, that'll help you. If you look at the next one is cholinergic, which is parasympathetic. Acetylcholine. All right. Okay, so pictures help you there. You can see cholinergic, acetylcholine. It kind of reminds you, choline, right? Cholinergic. Does that help you? Now, this is a review of this picture. This one I gave you. You need to know this. And get it reviewing of the responses. Okay, cholinergic is what system? Right, parasympathetic, rest and digest. So it's, again, I want you to mark things that are important here. If you have a cardiovascular, you're at rest, decreased heart rate, lowers blood pressure. GI says increases tone and motility of the stomach and intestine, and it also increases secretions, right? With the whole GI system. When I think of cholinergic, I think of mucus. When I think of anticholinergic, I think that's a medication to dry you up. Okay, it's also going to cause constipation, but you know. So increases secretions. GU, you know this is rest, digest, so stimulates, very last word, stimulates urination. Ocular, your eyes are constricted or normal, because when you're fighting or flighting, you need them dilated to see better, right? Just try to think what your body needs when you're fighting or flighting now. So the pupils are constricted. Then it says glandular and then bronchial. Again, it repeats. I guess I needed to tell you. Increases salivation, perspiration, and tears. Those are all fluids, all mucus, right? And the lungs, of course, are the opposite, constricted. They're at rest. Okay. So, cholinergic drugs are parasympathetic, rest and digest. And this, what goes with this, the figure with this is right across from it. It says parasympathetic cholinergic drugs. Cholinergic drugs resemble acetylcholine. Okay, then it has anticholinergic cholinergic drugs. And if you look in your reading, they're also called cholinergic blocking, right? So what are they blocking? Acetylcholine. There you go. So you're gonna see the opposite, right? So you look at the cardiovascular. So you have to almost kind of think of this. You know, cholinergic is parasympathetic. You understand what it's doing, it's blocking it. The acetylcholine, you're gonna see changes of the opposite pretty much. So cardiovascular, you have increased heart rate. GI, decreased peristalsis, in the second line, along with decreased secretions. Okay, if peristalsis slows way down, you have less fluid in your GI system, what's gonna happen to your bowels? Constipated, yeah. Urinary, so you have urinary retention, can result. When you learn how these drugs work, you know as a nurse, just by, if you know A&P and how medications work, you could figure out what to be aware of with your patient. If you know they're on an anti-cholinergic drug and they're not urinating, you need to let the doctor know, right? But you just tell the doctor she's not emptying her bladder, she's not urinating for like 8 hours, or I need to catheterize her. But he'll ask you, what are the drugs? You always have those drugs ready when you call that doctor. So, and he'll say, we need to switch it to maybe a different drug, right? But you know, as a nurse, you'll say, oh, it's this drug that she's on. That's why you may say that's the first drug you tell him. You know, you'll learn all this. I know it's overwhelming, but as that student came in before, he said all of a sudden, try 3, it all clicked. And it's true, he was already a nurse. I mean, he was doing everything just perfect. Most of the students do for try 3. All of a sudden, everything clicks and it all makes sense. But it is difficult to learn all this. It's a lot of information. Okay, so it's anticholinergic. So normally in the parasympathetic system, the bladder works fine, right? Okay, you urinate, right, normally. So if it's blocking it, you may have retention, you're not urinating. So ocular, it dilates. And mydriasis, that's what that means, if you're wondering. You'll learn that word later on with eye. Glandular, secretions decrease, along with all the secretions. So if you have decreased secretions, you're gonna have a constipation, but what's gonna happen in your mouth? So you know when they're on it, they're complaining of your mouth dry. So you just keep giving them some water, sips or popsicles, or something to help with that. Maybe the side effects aren't really bad. Now, not being able to urinate would be a big concern, don't you think? Dry mouth, not so much. You could help them with that. Bronchial, decreased secretions. And then central nervous system, it does decrease tremors and rigidity. Because parasympathetic, you're relaxed, right? Your muscles are relaxed. I hope your muscles are relaxed right now. And opposite would be, okay, look at the little picture here. It says anticholinergic response. The anticholinergic drug occupies the receptor site, so thus it's blocking the acetylcholine. So that's why it's called cholinergic blocking agent sometimes. Which means the same thing as anticholinergic. Okay? I know they love to have more than one thing. Okay, so we went over all the handouts.
Well, in that top part and B, those DDs, you said that was the blocking agent, right?
Huh?
They're blocking them. In the figure B, up in the top part, for the cholinergic drug, the little diagram, is that little DD one there, is that blocking it? Acetylcholine? Is that what you said?
That's the receptor.
The DD is.
I think it's says it here later on. I just want you to know that cholinergic drugs resemble acetylcholine, so.
It says on the picture down here, it says.
It's,
the
yeah, it's
cholinergic
saying
drug
it's-
DD.
It's cholinergic drug, and DD is cholinesterase inhibitor, so. The D could be stand for the drug too, the D for drug. I think the D would be standing for just the drug though you're using, okay? Okay, so let's go over.
So the one that's blocking is more an A then, so, because it goes in the little spots where the acetylcholine is. Is that right?
Okay, now what, I'll talk to you later about this. This is, I just want you to know that the cholinergic drugs resemble acetylcholine. But yeah, this is cholinergic drugs, which is, getting you to have the mimicking the acetylcholine, which is the parasympathetic system. Okay? So what do you,
It's okay.
okay. Yeah, it's not, this is take out content, it's more pictures and everything. I've had to find it. It's I think it's in your drug book. They're saying cholinesterase is D, I think. It's not too clear on this, figure though. Is it? Then there's DD.